A warm welcome to everyone present here. Today we are here with another webinar from the team OIG, and I extend a warm welcome on behalf of the team Own Your Growth. We are having a session today by Dr. Jinsi, who is one of my favorite, and she'll be talking to us on importance of psychodiagnosis in treating patients. For the sake of the formality to introduce, let me share with you a small brief about Dr. Jinsi. She is the assistant professor cum medical officer at Department of Pathology and Psychology in JSS Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. She completed her BNYS from JSS INYS and thereafter completed post-graduation psychology from University of Madras. She has 13 years of experience in teaching and clinical field. She has expertise in psychological component of health, and she has delivered several talks related to health. And when Team Own Your Growth contacted me to suggest the topic to ask to Dr. Jinsi, I was totally puzzled because she's almost good at everything on the field, and I didn't know what to choose. And I then got in touch with some of my classmates, and then we chose, okay, can we ask about psychology? And then yeah, it happened. And I'm again stumbling because I'm too excited, and without further ado, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Zuma, for a very warm and excited introduction about me. So we're very happy. Even I'm very happy to share this platform along with Own Your Growth. It indeed a very nice concept and looking into something which is out of the box for all the BNYS platform. So that is really great for the whole team of Own Your Growth, and I'm happy that I'm being part of it today. So I think the audience mostly are BNY students or BNY's graduates. So there is nothing new about naturopathy or yoga which I have to detail into you. But then I thought when they asked me to frame a topic related to psychology or something related to mind or something related to our system, I really, the first thought, what I didn't take time, in fact, in telling the topic, because this is one of my favorite and one of the core concept which I had been seeing all through my career all these days. So that's why I just framed it quite simply and without much nuances in that. So it's the importance of psycho-diagnosis in treating patients. Yeah, all of us are treating patients. We use modalities which are drugless, which do not have any side effects, which treats to the core of the patient. We try to take the root cause of the disease, make the patient heal from within and from outside. So this concept is quite clear to all of us. This is not new when compared to the conventional systems of medicine or even the other alternate counterparts of us. Yeah, they too deal with the core concept of treating the disease from the root, but then we deal too much with the trinity of our human being, that is the body, mind, and spirit. Yes, BNYS doctors or naturopaths, we talk about body, mind, and spirit in various platforms, in various zones, but are we actually doing that when we are treating the patient? This I had a question mark because not everybody actually delves deep into the mind and spirit of the person who is coming to us, because all of us know stress is a major cause for a disease. The psychological aspect of a person causes, I think the recent statistics tells that 95 percentage of the diseases have a psychological component in that, in one of the variety of ways. So we know that stress is going to be a component. So when we do take a case sheet, we write their name, we take all their complaints, we take their history, family based stuff, everything we fill it, and we understand there is somewhere a stress. So we ask them, you have to reduce your stress. So do yoga, do meditation, breathe properly, and you're going to relieve from stress. Does this really work out? When we just tell them you have to relax, are they able to relax? It's easy to tell a person to relax, and it's easy to tag a person with the name that you are stressed, but is it really possible for a person to do that? Just leave out the lay people. Is it possible for each one of us to actually take our stress apart, or actually to understand what kind of stress we are suffering right now. All of us, we have students here, we have doctors here, we have seniors here. So in this platform, students have a stress of attending the online classes or submitting their assignments on time. When they have a PTA meeting, parents teachers meeting, they have their own worries, know what the parents are going to tell, what the teachers are going to tell, and will it become a mess? So we have stresses. Or a little apart from, if you consider your parents and all, they have financial problems, the lockdown pandemic induced problems. We know this is stress and this is causing some kind of physical disturbances in us.
Just to start with again, so we were speaking about the importance of psychodiagnosis in treating patients. So as I was telling, so we actually ask about the patient's whereabouts, we ask about their stress, their complaints, everything, but are we really delving deep into the cause for this stress? So as I was telling, even we all undergo different levels of stress, and we really don't know how to actually capture what is causing the stress, or sometimes we may even be able to identify what is causing the stress. We may tell it's the place we are working in, or it may be our family pressure, or married people would tell it's my husband, it's my wife, it's my in-law. So we know the etiology, we know the cause for the stress. But then why is that cause leading to a stressful psychosomatic disorder in us, or why is it actually making our day-to-day routine to a question? So this is where we naturopaths should actually have a highlighted role, I would tell, because unless and otherwise we understand what is the role of each and every one of us towards the stress, we will never find the solution, because that's how a max problem is. Why do we call max a problem? Because you don't know the solution. Once you get a solution, the things are cleared there. So even to our day-to-day lives problem, if it is leading to a problem at the physical level, if your mental stress is leading to a problem at your physical level, you need to find the cause. Yes, most of us are brilliant enough to find out what the cause is, and we have wonderful two pointer fingers with us to point out this is the cause, you are the cause, or he is the cause, she is the cause. We are ready to do all that. But after finding the cause, you should know what role you have to play in this. See, if we take a disease, except leave out the genetic concept of disease or the heredity part of a disease, yeah, we are not responsible for getting a hereditary disease. But otherwise, you see the lifestyle disorders which are sprouting up these days, be it COVID-19, we are also partly responsible for the consequences of COVID-19, because we have not kept our immunity at an adequate level, because our immunity is not able to fight the disease, because SARS-CoV-2 virus is not so new. We also had SARS virus previously, we had other kind of viruses, but yeah, we came out of that. We are at this level here. Than the virus being stronger, there is somewhere a component where our body is equally becoming weaker. So we are responsible there. We have not kept our immune levels in a proper balancing situation. We have not kept our body fit enough to fight, because naturopathy's core concept is your body can heal itself. Your body has a capacity to fight any kind of infections or any kind of diseases, any kind of toxins in a better way, but your body should be ready for that. But it is not. This applies to your mind as well. If there is a trauma to the mind, if there is a stress to the mind, if there is a pain to the mind, if there is an emotional turmoil to the mind, your mind should be in a position to react to it in a healthy way. If that is not happening, then you land up in disease. So there are like four broad categories of stress, because we all commonly tell it as stress. I'm stressed. What kind of stress is that? Because gone are the time we just tell about stress. Stress is just the loss of a loved person, or it's just financial bankruptcy. Those are stress which is universal, that everybody knows. We do have certain other kinds of stress. Yeah, first kind of stress always is a physical kind of stress, which may be a disease which you are caught up with, like diabetes. Yeah, there the stress factor is going to be hyperglycemia. Or you have a renal calculi and you're getting pain out of that, your urination is not proper, there the cause would be a stone. So like that, we do have physical stresses. Other than that, we have psychological stresses, which actually leads to an emotional turmoil. So these psychological stresses can happen, as I told you, not just because of the death of a person or you just are suspended from your job. There are even other causes like feeling guilty of doing something. You have done something and that guilt is haunting you. Somebody of your teacher or your boss insulted you in front of your colleagues. The shame, that is a stress. You do a work and you're not appreciated or you're not motivated for that. You feel a kind of self-criticized approach towards yourself. You start hating yourself. You feel incompetent. You feel, okay, whatever I do, that is not going to reach to a level of compliment or reach to a level of appreciation. Then you feel demotivated doing it the next time. This is a stress. You have a kind of over anxiety, you're perfect enough to do a thing. You're a perfectionist, but then you're not able to meet your perfectionism. That is a stress. You're anxious about things. You want to do it round the clock, but because of your family pressures, you're not able to do it. This is stress. So these are all categorized under psychological stress. Just ask to yourself, if you have to wake up in the morning and your classes are scheduled at 9:30 every day and you're ready for it, one day if it is being preponed to 8:30, that leads to stress in you. You feel as if a whole lot of scenario has changed and there is something which has totally hampered your sleep pattern and you are doing too much of what has to be done by you. This leads to stress. Or there is a financial state at home, there is one extra component added on to that, there is an extra expense happening, that becomes a stress, which we actually don't realize that is harming our body inside, and we land up in some disease because of that. We complain of neck pain, headaches, palpitations, fatigue, cramps in the legs, extremities pain, choking sensation in the throat, you have difficulty swallowing. All these are part of these stress related physical ailments. Okay, so this is the psychological component of it. It's not ending up there. We have also two other kind of categories. One is psychosocial, the other one is psychospiritual. Psychosocial stress, what is this kind of stress? Yeah, here obeying to the laws, obeying to the rules, conforming to the social principles, conforming to the social stigma is a stress. Society, you should abide to the social norms. That is a stress to many of us. Say, for example, you are being brought up in a culture at home where you're very broad-minded, you share all of your feelings, and then you're to get married. So there comes the stress that the person is good. You're going to get married to a place and the guy is really good. The family background is good. That is what people actually see, because the social strata should be matched. Does our family sync well with the other family? Will the society give a complaint telling that, oh, why did you get your daughter married to that family? So that all should be balanced. So we see perfectly and we match everything well and we get the girl married. So after the girl, her entire lifestyle is going to change. For example, she was a very broad-minded girl. She can sleep anytime. She decides her own, she chooses her dress by herself, but now she's got married and she's not able to do anything of these stuff. Now she's completely dependent because her family, which she was put into, has a social norm of obedience. A female should be very obedient, she should be totally feminine, she should abide to the rules of the family. If this is the case, this becomes a stress. For a person who sees from outside, this is not a big deal. She is put into a well-off family. What is there for you to be stressed? Even as doctors, we might ask the girl, she's coming with a low backache, a constant low backache, which she's suffering for past 10 years. She's coming to you and she's complaining of the backache, and we give her all sorts of treatments. We give her mud, we give her massage, we give her physiotherapy, acupuncture, everything, but the pain is not going because it does not have an etiology. Only if there is a problem, you can solve it. If the problem is at the physical level, you can treat it by giving some physical treatments. If it is at the mind level, you have to trigger it, spoon it out, and take it outside. Only then the girl is going to be cured. So there you should identify what the problem is. She might not tell it to you what her problem is. Anybody, no one would actually love to project their weak parts outside. So they will only tell you, I'm well settled, my husband is working in Canada, we are settled up there, and we have a posh house. So we seen the disguised phase of that particular patient to be very healthy, and we keep on digging the physical etiology and we treat the patient. This is not going to work out, at least in 50% of the cases. So here, this is where psychodiagnosis is important. So the social stress also has to be identified. It's not just the psychological stress. And the last thing is psycho-spiritual stress. Why should spirituality end up in stress? Because spirituality is something which is going to take us to moksha, give us samadhi, give us bliss, give us kaivalya. So no, you kind of depart yourself from the worldly pleasures and you end up into moksha. Then why should this spirituality lead to stress? Of course not. Spirituality is not leading to stress because people don't understand what spirituality is. That is what is happening in today's world. We know religion, but we don't know spirituality. So if you know spirituality, then there is no question of stress over there. But if it is only the religious norms and the religious rules and regulations, then there also exists a lot of pressures because we abide to the laws. We do not know the logic. Sometimes we do not know whether we have to do it or not. If you agree with all the rules and regulations of a religion, well and good. But there are young generation people who are not able to abide to that as well as come out of that. Then that becomes a stress. So your parent tells, no, as per the Shastra, we are not supposed to do this, this, and this. But the young generation feels that a big stress. No, what is this? I need to be myself. Why should I abide to all this? But no other go. You have to suppress all that and you have to abide to those norms. Then that results in stress. These all can turn up into some kind of behavioral disturbances, like they might become an introvert, or they might change their behavior into a out of family affairs. No, they'll only be relying on friends, social gatherings. They will search attachment outside the home, and at home they'll be like an alien. Many of our teenagers, many of our parents these days complain that he goes out, he mingles with his friends, he parties with everybody, he's having all fun there, but once he comes into the home, he's all time gloomy, his face is all blue, there is some ghost or evil spirit haunted him, and they do all kind of rituals. The problem is they try to find a escape mechanism outside because inside has become a kind of stress for them. So to come out of this stress, just doing yoga without understanding what the problem is not going to work out. So what I'm coming to tell is, we know yoga, we know naturopathy, we know the different drugless therapies which is involved, but unless you know how to explain that into the people who are doing that, unless you teach them the mechanism, how it is going to work out, unless you make them understand what their stress is and what role they have in their own stress and how they can come out of it, you cannot treat a patient as a whole. When we always give a caption for our naturopathy philosophy as holistic system of medicine, what is that whole? It is not head, nose, mouth, the musculoskeletal system, the cardiovascular system all put together. It is a body, mind, and spirit. These three things should be put together to treat a patient in a very efficient manner. This I am talking out of my experience, not just from the literature what we see. Because I can, that's why I don't have a PowerPoint presentation today. Because if I have to take a PowerPoint presentation, I should tell you the relationship between mind and body, when the mind is agitated, how is adrenaline coming into action, how is cortisol coming into action, and how is that impacting your neurotransmitters, and what happens to your acetylcholine. What happens to the neurons, what happens to the dendrites there, what happens to your hippocampus, what happens to your processing centers, your hypothalamus. I didn't want to talk about what is the link between stress and body. All of us know stress and body has a link, mind and body has a link. The problem is to tap it. There comes a problem for which we actually don't have pretty lot evidences. We know that people have to vent out. I think most of you all would have even read a lot about psychology, because that is one subject which is involved in our or 5.5 long curriculum, but just reading a psychology text will not tell you how to tap out the solutions. We know that motivation is important, emotion is important, a person's behavior is important, learning pattern is important, intelligence is important. We know the whole textbook is important for a mind to evolve, but just reading the theory of that cannot tell you how to tap the mind of a person who's coming right in front of you with all trust that you will cure them. Because no conventional system of medicine, doctors would take half an hour to 45 minutes to diagnose a case. They just see the report, they know what it is: grade 1 fatty liver, or there are multiple intramural fibroids in the uterus, so they know what next. They don't have to tell why the fibroids had come. Do you have a stress? How is your family atmosphere? Is your husband talking to you very well? How is your household chores going on? Nobody's going to ask all that, because that's enough for them to treat. But we, being naturopaths, we don't have such a kind of a practice of prescribing something and sending. We are talking about healing from within, which has to happen at all the kosha level. We talk about yoga. We own yoga. When I chose this topic, I felt this topic is apt for this platform. The solution for psychodiagnosis or taking the psychological stress from you is own your growth. You have to understand the caption of your own platform very well. Own your growth. Your growth is in you. Never ever blame that your growth is on somebody else or some other environmental situation, or it's something external. You have the responsibility of that. But not everybody understands what is their responsibility. There you need to teach. And those teachers are we naturopathy doctors who should teach. So first, for this, we should understand what our problem is. Maybe after the session of today, you can have a kind of introspection towards you. What is my stress and what is my role over this stress? So for example, if my stress is going to be the place where I work in, say for example. So here I should understand, why am I working at this place? Nobody has compelled me. Nobody has told me you have to work in this place. Otherwise your Aadhaar card nomination would be taken away, or you won't be provided with any kind of government policies or scholarships. Nobody has told that. And you have to work in Coimbatore. It's mandatory. If you move out of this district, you will be kidnapped or hijacked or arrested or jailed. Nobody has told me that. I chose to be here. So if this place is a problem for me, who has to take decision? I have to take decision. I can't be telling that, oh, because I'm placed here, it's all a whole lot of a stress. I have to work this way. I have to work this way. This is how I'm being tortured, or this is how I've been pointed at. If you are to grumble, you'll have to grumble the whole of your life. You have the option to accept, to change, to ignore. So if this has to be accepted, understand why you're here. Okay, I am here because I love this place, or I love this institution. I love the fame of the institution, or this is the profession which I actually dreamt of. Oh, okay, to take my part, yeah, I love teaching. So teaching is my passion. So maybe I'm here. So yeah, you've chosen the right thing. So there would be some shortcomings there. You have to accept it. No, I can no more tolerate the shortcomings. Then change the situation. You're always welcome to change the situation in which you are. And you are the deciding factor over there. Don't just wait for somebody to come and tell you. You have to change your place. You have to change your position. So you understand and change the position. If not, I can't change, neither I can accept. So ignore. It's okay. Things happen. Life is very short. Enjoy with the little kind of happiness you get, and you have to ignore the things. If these three triad is not going to work on you, then stress is going to be haunting you in many ways, and you're going to get symptoms which cannot be diagnosed by any kind of MRI, CT, or blood profile investigations. Many of the women, those who come as patients, what we have seen is all their reports are normal. Their thyroid profile, lipid profile, their vitamin levels, their scans, ultrasonography, everything is normal, but their problem is very persistent and is not going off. And with any amount of painkillers they take, their pain is not going to come out. That is why the DSM-4 has classified a disease called as somatization disorder. So they've defined it very clearly. Somatization disorder is a set of symptoms which is seen especially in women. There are a lot of physical symptoms which does not have any specific organic cause, but it has a psychological component which we do not know. So recently the DSM-5, the recent classification, they just changed the term from somatization disorder into somatoform symptom disorder, SSD they call it. So here even few symptoms, if it is there without a cause, they classify it into this. Even the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-10, also classifies a category of disease called a somatization disorder. Why this happens? There are a lot of pain, there is a lot of symptom which is seen, but no underlying pathology. So there is an underlying abnormal psychology which we have to take it out. This many of us don't do. Many of the, even if you go to a psychiatrist, even if you go to a psychologist, they're going to shoot at some anxiety drugs, anxiolytics. That is what psychiatrists do. Psychological counseling, when you go into a counseling, they try to make you tell things outside. Sometimes that may work out, sometimes that may not work out. But as naturopaths, we can give a perfect solution for this psychological ailment which they are coming out with. Okay, somehow by hypnosis or catharsis, they went out to you, they get the trust of you as doctors, and they keep telling you their problems, maybe stress, family issues, children issues. Sometimes rearing up children becomes a big stress for many of the parents. They're not able to cope up, they're not able to give enough time for the children, for which the children behave in an odd way, and this is not being able to be tolerated by the parents. All these, they're venting up to you. Now you have to find the solution. From where would we find the solution? Of course, yoga helps. So we naturopathy doctors tell that yoga helps. Do yoga. So we prescribe them set of asanas. We prescribe them set of pranayama. We tell them to do some kind of meditations, at least concentration techniques. We ask them to do kriyas. Yes. Is this all? No, it is not. Because these can be done, but they don't know how is this going to help them come out of their problems. Of course, this is going to help. Breath awareness, there are so many clinical studies which tells that when you become aware of your breath, there is a lot of oxygenation which happens to your brain, and that kind of reduces the stress hormones in your body, and the stress level comes down. Yes. Stress level is coming down when you're doing yoga. Does this have a permanent effect? We do not know, because the stress etiology is still there. You have not removed the etiology. Of course, doing yoga, doing meditation, doing guided awareness, doing deep breathing is going to help them for sure. There is no doubt about it. It's very much evidence it's going to help. But where are you going to take it out? How are we going to take out that stress and make them perceive in a different way? We learn about perception in psychology. Perception is important. For me, what I see as 9, the other end person will see it as 6. So nothing, neither of this is wrong. The other person, opposite end person is also correct. I am also correct. When the other person says 6, I should not be telling, oh idiot, he even doesn't know the numbers. Because from his point of view, that is correct. From my point of view, this is correct. So you are supposed to understand the problem of a patient from their point of view. From your family circle, it might be different. This can be analyzed between you. We colleagues as doctors, you just think of your, for me, a particular set of social norm is acceptable. The same set of social norms would not be acceptable by my colleague, because their family situation is different. So this, you have to go into the shoes of the other person and then think from their point of view and get a solution. Now, where do we have the solution? I've been talking about you have to find the solution, find the solution. Now, where are we going to find the solution? It's again back in yoga. Whenever I teach students, I tell that psychology is a very vast science, very important science, which has found the intricacies of mind, how we dissect a human body and find the different nerves, bones, and we have found out there are 206 bones like that. Its psychology has dissected the mind completely and found that there is an emotion part there is a personality part, there's an attitude part, there's a memory part, there's a thinking part, there's a frustration part, there's a motivation part. But yoga is beyond psychology. I would tell that yoga is much more a psychological science than psychology itself, because it has the problems mentioned very clearly and the solutions mentioned very clearly. But this part of yoga is unexplored by the practitioners of naturopathy and yoga these days, because we only concentrate on the Hatha Yoga part. asana, pranayama, mudra, bandha, kriyas and all. But we are not concentrating on the philosophy part of it, which can be made practical, and only we can make it practical, not anybody else. We cannot give the key of this to any other practitioners because it's our own product and we are supposed to master in that. So if I really can't mention the entire part of it, it would take a long time. So to mention few of that, which actually can be taken into your practice. The problems which are mentioned in yoga, let me talk about vrittis, kleshas, and chitta vikshepas. What not? What has to be added to this? Nothing, actually speaking. The 5 vrittis, the 5 kleshas, and the 9 chitta vikshepas, plus the 4 add-ons to the chitta vikshepas. What else should be added to this? This talks about all your social problems. That is all your physical stress, your psychological stress, psycho-spiritual stress, psycho-social stress. All these stresses are mentioned in this. You have to understand what is the role of you in this stress. So it can be avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abnivesha. Avidya, you don't know things. That is why you're actually worried about it. Supposing you're worried about a person behaving to you in a different way and you're stressed out. You are ignorant. You don't know why the person is behaving that way. Just clear it off. Okay, why are those people behaving to you in such a way? If you feel it logical, or if you feel this behavior is bad, in spite of them explaining, or in spite of them you finding out the true nature of it, you find this is stupid, this is really painful that the person is behaving to you this way, just ignore it, because you know this is actually bad from their part. You are supposed to ignore it there, right? And the second thing what is being spoken about in klesha is asmita, the feeling of I. Feeling of I here, in the sense, here I want to clarify 2 things. Yoga tells you should not be self-centered, you should not be selfish. It's all you concept. Yeah, I agree to this concept in one way. Yeah, you should not have ego. You should not have the I feel, where you have to surrender everything to God. That's a spiritual part of it. But here, the I component, which would make you stressed, is feeling that whatever you do is correct, whatever others do is wrong, or feeling that whatever is from your point of view is correct, the other person's point of view is wrong. Then you start blaming that person, telling that, see how she is behaving or how he is behaving. No, from their point of view, that might be correct. Here, we are behaving egoistic in a way that you only highlight or you only grade your own thoughts and feeling. That is the asmita, which is leading to stress. Leaving the spiritual part apart. But apart from that, there is a component called self-love, which you should adapt, which I will tell you in another 5 minutes once I finish off with the kleshas. Because when I'm going to talk about self-love, that is not asmita. That is not the ego, which I'm going to talk about. Then the raga, dvesha, abnivesha, attachment, withdrawal, and the fear of death. Yes, that is again a stress. Abnivesha is what is happening in this pandemic. Everybody are scared whether we will die suffocating. This fear of death, if it has to go, only a person who knows the yoga philosophy can teach the people and give them moral support, telling you don't have to fear death. Just live the life to the fullest. Only we can teach them. No other doctors or no other practitioners can come and tell them to come out of abnivesha. We have 2 good solutions for that, abhyasa and vairagya. Tell them what to practice. If you have a fear of death, which is caused due to a fear of disease, you should ask them to practice certain practices so that you don't contract the disease. Now, the real problem with COVID-19 is we are scared whether we will contract the disease, and we are scared whether the disease will make us suffocate, and we are scared whether we will die. So here the solution is you have to practice something. So what should you practice? You have a lot of healthy practices which are being told by the health policy makers everywhere. Maintain social distancing, wear your mask, sanitize yourself, keep your immunity at good level. So we practitioners can teach them how your immunity can be boosted in a better way. Do that. After doing that, if you're contracting the disease, that is the second thing. But before the disease even comes, the fear of death making you psychologically ill has to be removed. So here a right knowledge has to be given to people who are approaching you. So there you have to give them solution. You don't get scared of the disease. This is not going to do anything. Why are you so weak? That is not the solution. Giving a question back to them or blaming them for their weaknesses will not make a naturopathy practitioner a holistic doctor. We'll only be practitioners. We won't be holistic doctors, because doctors, as we all know, we are teachers. We are supposed to teach them something. So here we are taking them, okay, your stress is because of the disease pandemic. So you identified that. So there avidya may be a reason. They're ignorant about why this disease is causing so many problems. So teach them. You give them pramana. Okay, right knowledge is important. That is what is told about in your vrittis, pramana, viparyaya, and all. So all the right knowledge you have to give them, remove them from their false imagination and fantasizing about things. No, if I get married to this particular place, my life is going to be a hangama. Before even entering the place, why should you have an imagination, a false imagination, if that is going to give them a stress? Take out the stress, find the root cause. Okay, here the illusion or the hallucination in which they are living is a problem. Give them the right knowledge, give them the practices which they have to come out from their stress. So here abhyasa works a lot. Sometimes vairagya has to be worked upon, because nowadays fear of death or fear of losing a job or not getting a university rank or failing in an examination all becomes a stress. The youngsters of today, even a network problem in an online class is a stress. The small children of today, I see even including my kid, we see them, if the network is not proper, they get, oh amma, this is going to become a big hangama. I may get a bad name when they take attendance. If I'm not answering, I will get a black mark. It's a stress for them. Make them understand that stress might lead to headache, which is unknown. It's not necessary that you have to make them wear a specs for that headache. That headache may be just a stress, a fear whether the network connectivity would be there. This fear also has to be tackled. This I'm talking at the very simpler level of a kid. So even that stress is going to show physical symptoms. So here you should understand what is causing that and then give them a solution. Never mind what is there even if you are not there for a class, or what is there even if once you are skipping a homework, or once you're not getting a university rank, or what if you lose a job if you have to fetch one. Here all the problem is the attachment. You're attached to your family in such a way that you cannot come out of that comfort zone. If you are not able to come out of the comfort zone, you're attached with so many networks, wife, children, family, social strata, colleagues, the image, the attitude and the image which you have will be lost. You're worried about that. So this social pro forma should not be changed at all. So for this, you should be detached. Detached in the sense, I don't ask you to take up sannyasa and go for a pilgrimage. Detachment is, don't be responsible for the globe revolving. You are not responsible for that. You're just a part, a miniature, a small atom in this universe, and you can't have control over everything. You feel that everything, the control of everything is in your hand. If you just take one finger out, the whole rope is going to be out of your hand. Don't have that attitude. You don't have rights for anything in the world. You have rights only on you. The rest of the thing is just temporary dependence on you, and it might just go off. So this has to be taught in a perfect way using yoga philosophy to your clients. So this abhyasa and vairagya, this is not only at the psychological level. So this vairagya can even be the bad practices, their sleep pattern, they eat in a wrong way, or they are too much addicted to gadgets, they take too much of tea, coffee, alcohol, smoking, drugs, painkillers. All these also should be detached. This addiction is also a kind of attachment. So you have to teach them the good way in which vairagya can be practiced. Okay. And the chitta vikshepas, this tells everything. Vyadhi, Sayana, Samshaya, your Pranti Darshana, everything. So here again, why are you frustrated is because of all this big list of 9 things, which I actually don't want to elaborate on everything. because we know that it's not new to us. So when people are coming with this, just seeing whether the hemoglobin levels are fine enough, their IgE levels are good, their glucose levels are good, their SpO2 is good. Yeah, everything is required. You also see whether their Sthina levels are good, their Pramana is good, their Viparyaya is good. What about their Asmita levels? Just have a case sheet done, keeping all this in mind, the vrittis, the kleshas, the chitta vikshepas. You will identify the cause. Meddling between the other things, you will surely identify the cause. Just a small example, I had a patient who had come to me some 3 years before, and she had body pain everywhere. You can't tell which place. Today she tells about hand, tomorrow back, sometimes neck, and the stress is so much. And she literally rolls upon the bed when she gets the pain. And the pain is very constant. With painkiller, the pain is not going. With acupuncture, no. I gave her a lot of massages. No, it's not even reducing. And her face is always gloomy. So I had taken around 2-3 days of time for me to gain trust from her, because that was important. Nobody will just come and tell you all the personal stories right away. They won't tell you. So I just gained her trust, and then slowly I started asking her about her family, husband, children, and all that. And somewhere I found that she loved somebody asking that. So I asked, like, how are you happy? How about your children? How are they performing? How about your financial status? All that. When I started asking, slowly her tears started rolling for no reason. I didn't ask any question which was so precise that she has to cry. She wanted some attention from somebody which she was losing all these years. That's what I understood. So I started pampering her a little. See, yours with some kind of compliments. You're so good. You seem to be actually healthy. You're very capable lady. I really don't know why you actually caught up with this disease. So she started, oh, really, I'm a capable lady. Then she said, yes, ma'am, I was a capable lady. I was a perfect lady. I was doing things all perfectly. And then my life is all gone. Where is gone? Your husband is actually quite rich, and he sent his wife over here to get treatments, spending a lot of money, and children are being put into very well-off posh schools. What is the problem? Yeah, then she started telling the real problem was the husband had an extramarital affair. So this, she is not able to fight. She couldn't fight with her husband, telling that you withdraw from this because of social norms, psychosocial stress. If this was revealed, then she would be targeted by the society. Everybody would talk bad of her. Okay, leave aside her. Her children will be spoken upon by, oh, that person's kids. So she didn't want that to happen. Now, telling this to her parents will feel, oh, I had given so much of dowry and all and send my daughter to a good place thinking that she's living well and the guy is having an extramarital affair. The parents would be worried. So she didn't want to tell this to her parent. So she was toiling inside. Husband was happily having an affair. And this started piling in her, and that came out as pain, because it didn't come out as a anger. It didn't come out as an exposure to the outside society, where she was not able to blame him, scold him, fight with him, went somewhere. So this started showing up as pain. Now, which scan would show you this pain, telling that this is the pain due to the agony which she's suffering due to her husband's extramarital relationship? Does any PET scan, MRI, CT, which can diagnose the tissue level changes, diagnose this? No. Will any specialist who has completed his MBBS, FRCS, A, B, C, D, so many degrees behind their name, identify this? No. And if at all somebody knows this problem, will they really relate this to the back pain and the body pain she is suffering from? No. Now we can do this. We have identified that this is the problem. What next? Now you have to teach her to love herself. She has an identity. You should not allow a person to lose their own identity. Now she's lost her identity. She's just living for the sake of living. Here you have to tap her, give her the right knowledge. Why not she go for a fight? Why should she bother about the social norms over there? She should either take care of, bring her husband back, or she can even quit that life and go. Why should she sacrifice? If she's happily accepted that affair, things are different. That's okay. Okay, you can have an affair, doesn't mind. You ignore the problem, it's fine. But if it's leading to a physical cause, you have to remove the root cause. So here, as a doctor, you can talk to her husband if she is willing to. and try to sort out the problem. If that's not going to work out, she has to fight for it. Yeah, she has to, you have to instill the right knowledge in her. See, you have to come out of this is what is causing pain in you. Tell to your parents, tell to your husband, let us see what next it has to be done. You gain the confidence. Don't worry about the society. It's all mithya, it's all just maya, it's all illusion. These are all false imagination that what society is going to do to you. You needn't worry about all this. So you have to teach them two things: self love and compassion. Most of the religions, especially Buddhism, Christianity and all, talks about love your neighbors as you love yourself. They're not telling just love your neighbors, you're telling love yourself. First thing, only if you love you, you can love others. Once you hate you, you cannot love others. We are not so generous souls, hating ourselves and loving others. It's just drama. We are just showing off to other people that we are very good human being, loving everybody and showing a Mother Teresa kind of an attitude everywhere. Not at all. Unless you love your own being, you cannot do that. So for you to love your own being, your life should be happy. So you should know what is required to you, what has to be taken off. So those garbages has to be sorted. So here you have to ask. This is why I told you about those 19 things: vikshepas, vrittis and kleshas. Ask them what knowledge you have about these things. What is the problem between your in-law and yourself? If there is a problem, try to sort out the false imagination there and give them solution how they can change. So teach them. Unless you accept this, what is your role in this? See, any problem, any social stresses, any stress becomes a stress only because of your reaction to it. Now, for example, now I can see if suddenly there is a snake which is propping up here. I have one more doctor sitting with me here. She's sitting coolly and I might jump out and tell, oh, it's a snake, and a lot of fear, and I have my pupils dilated, sweating everywhere, my hands and feet turns clammy, and my colleague is sitting happily over there. Is the snake the problem or the reaction which I showed the problem? Who is stressed? Any even a small kid would tell that, madam, you are stressed here. The other doctor is all fine. So the problem is not the snake, it's the reaction which you show towards that. So who is responsible for the stress now? I am responsible for my stress. I overreacted to things. So I should have made to, somebody should have taught me, see, don't react like this to stress. No, this is your bodily reaction. Never mind. You don't. Now, after seeing the snake today for 10 days, I have fever. Seeing the snake, I have developed a phobia. So here the problem is not the snake. You don't have to go advise the snake, see snake, don't come here again. Dr. Jinsey is very scared about it. No, it is Jinsey who should understand that snake has come. It is a creature of the universe and you don't have to be so overreactive to that. Understand that it's not going to do anything, or how to escape from that and not take that deep into your mind. So this has to be taught to me by somebody, and that somebody is we. Right? So we ourselves as a platform, I don't know how far this has instilled some spark in you, because this is not science what I'm talking about the experience and how I want each of the doctor to reach to the mind and spirit level of the patient you're going to encounter. Just don't sit with the paper and pen and ask them about all their complaints. We can write multitude of papers sorting out their complaints. Sometimes, yeah, of course, our treatment is going to work out for all those symptoms, because naturopathy and yoga is such a wonderful, miraculous science which can heal anything and everything. But the remaining, even if it is not healing, just have a second thought of kindling their mind. Just start digging out their mind, find out what exactly is the problem. That problem you relate to the yogic philosophy. Where is the problem? Because the problem they will tell easily. Kid, father, mother, mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, husband, society, finance, job, boss, colleagues, they will tell the problem. But that problem, how is it affecting their mind level? Is it because of ignorance, false imagination? Is it because they don't have the right knowledge? Is it because of their ego? Is it because of the physical pain that they are enduring all these days? They perceive things in a different level, or they were brought up in such a family background where they were always made to feel inferior about themselves. Tap out this and then give them the solution. Of course, make them do a lot of yoga, a lot of awareness about, because that's the time they start realizing about themselves. Give them a lot of auto suggestion, self suggestion, so that they try to appreciate themselves. Once the patient comes to you and gets back, make them love themselves, let them lose self-hatred. Ask the 10 days or 15 days of time a naturopathy doctor gets a patient in hand. When they're going out, they should start uh, thinking and rethinking about themselves in a different perspective. They should start loving their life. This is what should be an added on responsibility of a naturopathy and yogic practitioner. I think if you try maybe this platform, we are all under one umbrella. So just try starting your career like this and do such a kind of a diagnosis, such a kind of a deal with your patients. And if you find anything uh, different, or you find a self-satisfaction on treating patients like this, do give me a feedback either through your colleagues or your own your growth team. I would be happy, because this is not an evidence-based talk which I'm giving, so I can go and refer like how many people are practicing such a thing. So this is a personalized one-to-one emotional sharing of thoughts, which I have got a lot of self-gratification and satisfaction treating patients this way. So I wanted this to be spreading everywhere, because like an allopath becomes a family doctor very easily, but not a naturopath. So if a naturopath can become a family doctor for a person, this emotional bond is required, because allopathy delves into the component that medicines are scary. So unless there's a family doctor, you can't take your treatment on your own. But for us, when the patients come, you teach them certain things that they can do with themselves even later. There's no need of a doctor after that. But being a naturopathy doctor, if you can become a family doctor, that can only happen when you have a one-to-one, mind-to-mind, heart-to-heart, spirit-to-spirit bonding. So this bonding can happen only with our lovely science called, or lovely extraordinary science called yoga, psychological science called yoga. Because I don't want to tell that, because though I frame the topic as psychodiagnosis in treating patients, this is actually the psychodiagnosis through yoga. I didn't want to mention it in the topic, because I want you to tell that psychology is just a small part in this big vast yogic science. You have answers. If you are a learner of both psychology and yoga, you would understand that pretty better, where psychology is incomplete in every chapter, but the solution is there in our yogic philosophy. You just read the entire Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There is nothing which it doesn't contain. Everything is there. Only thing, we have to interpret it in a practical way than just learning the sutras for the sutra's sake or for spirituality's sake. Just take as how we have taken asana, pranayamas, mudras and bandhas to a physical practical level. Also take chittas, chitta vrittis, vikshepas, kleshas to the practical level, and the eka tattvas which has to be followed, ishvara pranidhana, what has to be followed, swadhyaya, that's one another yet important component. Swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana is such a nice component. So teach all this, make it practical. I don't have to tell what this is. This we have learned in vast modality in all our yoga papers. Now make this a practicing stuff. Start thinking, how can this be made practically possible? Do it to yourself, own your growth, and then own your clients' growth and make them own their growth. I think with these words, I'm stopping my talk for today. And thank you, Own Your Growth, for giving me this platform so that I was able to address a lot of young upcoming doctors as well as graduates. And I thank my own institution, JSS Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, for giving me the opportunity to accept your invitation and give me this talk. So thank you all once again. Hope to have a few more sessions in the near future, because I really love this platform and your caption, Own Your Growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I know how much I really can't put it into words how much it has it has given me so much, because I know all of these I've been hearing from you all these years, but I'm very glad that this is going to be in public domain and it is going to reach so many students across India. And I'm sure if at one point of time in my life, if I couldn't reach you due to some staying away, I am probably going to look into this video and make it make me okay. And yeah, I'm very happy to have you. I should also thank our college, JSS INYS, the management and the doctors for accepting the team's request to have you on our platform. and also Dr. Preeti and other faculties who are here supporting with us for the technical issues. Thank you so much. And also I've seen a few of our doctors join this session. Thank you so much. I really can't put into words how much this means to me and for the team Own Your Growth. Thank you so much, ma'am. I have a small question, if you could spare a few minutes, and there's also some questions coming up. Will you be able to address them?
Yeah, sure, no issues.
So my first question is, can you differentiate between Asmita and self-love very clearly? Because I think that is one conflict that I keep on having.
Asmita, as explained in yogic concept, it comes as a klesha. That is, it's a mental conflict. Why? Because you keep thinking, everything is done by me, because nothing is done by us. We are born into this world through a supreme power which we really don't know. So you don't have a role here. You're not magnificent enough to come to this world. So you have no role in this world. You're just only kind of tamed. So this Asmita is a complete selfishness. I would tell ego-centered selfishness. Only I am right. What I do is correct. I have done this. If I am to tell this, I have delivered a wonderful talk today. It was all because of me. That is Asmita. But if I'm to tell self-love, I'm happy the way I spoke today. Whatever is the talent which was given to me, I've executed in a way that I was able to do. This is my maximum level of capacity. I don't have to compare it to some other orator or some other speaker, or I don't have to feel inferior. Oh, Jinsi, your talk was very bad. I should have done better. This was not good, or the ambience was not good. If I am to grumble over that, then I don't have self-love over there. That is not wrong. If I am to tell that I have done to my satisfaction, I have done to my gratification, I am good the way I am. I don't have to compare myself to anybody else. I am happy with what I'm provided with. My eyes, my nose, my hairstyle, my color, my complexion, my body appearance, the way I speak, whatever knowledge I have, the way I can sing, the way I can dance, I'm quite happy with everything. I don't have a grumbling. That is self-love. That doesn't become ego. That is not self-praising. That is, I accept me as I am. That is nowhere a self-praise. But instead, if I am to tell, can anybody talk like me? Can anybody behave the way I behave? Does anybody have a knowledge as I have? This is Asmita. This is going to impure your mind. This is going to soil your mind, making your mind dominate yourself and seeing the whole world inferior to you. And that is going to become a disease later on, because you see everything down to you. Everything is low. You see yourself positioned so high. You feel your hierarchy is the best. All the other people are all below you, be it a sweeper, a cleaner, a peon, a clerk. Everybody is a low strata species. That is Asmita, and that is bad. But self-love, it is good, because you're happy with the blessed living which God has given you.
Okay, ma'am. And there's another question. There's a question like, how do we deal with stress when we hear from patients their part of the stories? Like some of their suggestions and their point of view might be affecting our mental health. How to deal with them?
That's what I ended up the talk by telling. Own your growth first, then make the patient own their growth. Only then that will work out. Because you should not, this is where we have to understand, nobody's problem should impact you, because it's the reaction. Now when you're to tell a lot of stress, they'll come cry to you, they'll have so many problems with their marital relationship. That doesn't mean that you should never get married, because that's not going to happen to you. You should not think it that way. So from there, than taking their stress to your head, you take that solution to your head. That should be a new learning. Okay, this kind of stress can come into my life later on, and for this, the solution is what I am going to give that person, and that solution is a backup for you. You don't have to have all experience to yourself to have the solutions. Even another person's life can teach you a lot of things. You should take it that way positively. The other way around is, you can see such a lot of stress in other people, and you are blessed that you don't have that stress. So take this life as a blessing. So this will take you towards self-love. and leave out all the egos. So this is actually, this makes ourselves evolve. If you are to encounter with people and that stress is harming you, you have to introspect yourself. Of course, that should not gloom you down. There you have to again take the yogic concepts, you get the right knowledge, it's their life, what role that person has and their situation. And that is not going to, nothing is similar in this world. Like our 10 fingers, no two fingers are going to be similar. The same way, no two problems are going to be the same. So nobody's problem is should be haunting you. You should have a demarcating line. It's their problem and you are a person who are going to find solution for them. You're not going to take that problem to you and tell them, okay, I've taken your problem, you can go away. It's not that. So every problem will have different solutions. You're only a solution maker here by finding out their problem. So that problem should not be taken by yourself. For this, first, what you have to understand is what is your problem. If you are to take out all the stress of the other person, then you are a very good empathizer, but you're a harm for yourself. You should not have too much of empathy. Empathy in the sense you should not be too involved with others' problem. You should have a demarcation level there. So first, you should get the solution for yourself. First, own your growth and then get into your patients. This will come up with time. No, it doesn't happen overnight. So as you go with a lot of patients, as years pass, you will excel in that, so that nothing is going to take out your peace of mind. You'll always have a smile in your face.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And also, there's a lot of messages pouring in saying like great session, and few people have really said that they have relief from stress listening to your talk. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So,
we have Niveda raising your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, ma'am, I want to thank you for giving such a beautiful session. But I wanted to ask one doubt. This is regarding that example that you gave. Like, if the person is having fear of contracting COVID, for example, but in reality, that is possible for to happen to them, no, ma'am. So, how can we guide that particular person in the path of accepting that, like accepting what is actually in reality, and that fear is really how do I put it in words? That fear is rational, no, ma'am. So, how can we guide them towards
right.
not being stressed because of that fear?
I'm scared of COVID-19. Yeah, if at all I contract, will I be suffocating? No, I can't imagine me having ventilators and wires all around. No, I should just breathe out well. That is my ultimate happiness, is to have fresh air. So even I'm scared of that. But then just being scared of that and restricting myself to everything, or any other normal viral fever, so that I can come out of that. That abhyasa knowledge has to be given. See, for example, we are working all these days. We are coming to college, we are meeting patients, we are meeting other outsiders. So we do have the fear of contracting the disease. So if I was to have that fear every day when I'm coming inside the campus and going out, you won't see the smile on my face today. I would have a gloomy appearance, will I get COVID? But now the concept is, level. So I'm doing all my responsibilities properly. So I have a feel that if at all I'm to get COVID, maybe I can combat it because I'm doing some preliminary measures beforehand itself. Beyond all this, if COVID is going to come and die, that is like any other death. So if we are traveling, every travel has a negative part of meeting with an accident, but that doesn't mean you don't travel. So many of us drive. So while driving, every drive has a negative component of the other fate line. It's not that people die only with COVID. If that was a scenario, what you said is right. People will die only with COVID. There is no other death possible. Then yes, COVID is a fearsome stuff. But people die even otherwise. No, even I'm talking to you now. I don't know what would happen the next moment. It's not just COVID. So many things can happen. So there, Abnivesha has to be removed. Instead, Abhyasa has to be taught. You teach them the good ways how you can combat. If at all you contract COVID, these are the methodologies which we can follow. Don't fear. Let us. Beyond that, if something is happening, that is the supreme power's decision. We can't do anything to that. But fear can be overcome only with practice. How do you overcome the fear of an exam? By studying, by Abhyasa. The same thing applies even for fear of COVID.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you for spending more than an hour with us at this crucial time. Thank you so much, ma'am. We would love to have more sessions like this with you and the rest of the wonderful faculty team at JSSINYS. I'd like to extend thanks from the team OIG for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all once again. And the founder of OIG, I think this is a very innovative platform what Dr. has made. I think this should reach to a lot of people with lot of creative sessions. And I think this would also help me evolve because we're all learners. We don't stop anywhere. I think from all your forthcoming sessions, I will also have many things to learn and evolve as a better naturopathy and yoga physician. Thank you all. So stay safe, stay healthy, and own your growth. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And for those who joined in the middle of the session, the link of the YouTube, this recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So make sure you go back to the channel and watch this once again right from the beginning, because right from the beginning, even the first minute, all of it is very important. Thank you so much.